Welcome back to Healthy Christian Living with Ruth and Casey. Today we want to have a really candid conversation about something that we know keeps many women stuck in their weight loss journey, and that is depression.
Depression is real. And maybe you're someone who this is going to resonate with. Maybe you have feelings of depression, or you have anxiety, or you just can't seem to get moving. You can't seem to get out of your own way.
Mm-hmm. Whether you're diagnosed with depression or whether you just feel depressed, we know that from working with hundreds of women that depression, especially around a weight loss journey, can really keep women stuck. Because really what depression does is it tells you things like you're worthless, like you can't do it, like you'll never be enough.
Yeah, you just don't have the energy to even get out of your own way. You don't have the energy to walk down the stairs. You don't have the energy to get out for a walk. You just don't feel good in yourself, and you don't feel good enough to take care of you.
Mm-hmm. So whether your depression is kind of just this depressive attitude around your weight loss journey, or whether it's clinical depression, there are there's lots of things that we can do to help ourselves out. And we just really want to remind you that depression is not a new thing. It's not a new phenomenon.
In fact, it's universal. It doesn't matter what culture you come from. It doesn't matter what city or country you live in. It doesn't matter your race, your color, your language. It doesn't matter.
Your socioeconomic status.
That's right.
Doesn't matter.
Depression falls everywhere. It is a universal epidemic, I'm going to say.
Mm-hmm. And really the reason for this video is, as we've been talking and working with members in our membership community, we know that lots of them are struggling with this very topic. And we have lots of experience ourselves with mental health challenges as well in our own family, myself included. And so we know that it is real, and we know that when you're in the midst of it, that you need hope.
That's right. Hope is a really big thing. And I'm going to say, we know as believers that Jesus is supposed to be our hope. Jesus is our hope. Without Jesus, we really are hopeless. And then depression looks that much worse.
Mm-hmm.
But before we go on with this, I just want to say, if you are really struggling with depression, you need to go and seek help. And it's okay to seek help. Actually, it's not weak at all to ask for help. It's actually a sign of courage to go to your doctor and say, look, I'm really struggling. I don't know what's wrong. I don't know why I'm in the slump. But if you are feeling that bad, you really need to seek help. That's the first thing.
Yeah, exactly. And like you said, there's no shame in seeking help. And you know what? There's lots of other things that we can do to help us, because when we end up in these depressive states, what happens is we feel so discouraged. We don't know how to have hope anymore. And, there's a saying that goes, hope deferred makes the heart sick. And when our hearts are sick, we just don't know how to take the next step forward. But we have to learn how to take the next step forward, because we are called to take the next step forward. We're called to run the race. We're not called to quit when it gets hard. We're not
right.
called to quit when we feel depressed. And that might sound harsh to you, but I'm just reminded of the church sermon that I listened to this past week. It's all about Exodus and Moses and the Israelites. And the Israelites were so discouraged. They were so depressed because they were supposed to be God's chosen people. And here they were, slaves to the Egyptians for years. And they just felt like God had stopped working. They felt like God had stopped moving. But God had not stopped working. God had not stopped moving. God had a plan.
That's right. And so we can relate that to our own lives. Sometimes we feel like it's long. It's never going to end. We just can't seem to get ourselves up. But here's the thing. We have to first recognize that
we're struggling.
We're struggling, and our feelings are real, but they might not be facts. We have to recognize the difference between how we feel and the actual facts, because we feel like God has abandoned us. We feel like he's left us. We feel like we're all alone.
We feel like we failed at losing weight one too many times. We feel like we're never going to be able to do it. We feel like it's too hard.
But we know that scripture says the exact opposite. Our minds are playing tricks on us, and depression is, I'm going to say, it brings physical illness, but a lot of depression, a lot of it is in our minds. We have to change our mindset. We have to have a shift. So,
and we talk about that so often. It's renewing our minds. That's what the Bible tells us we have to do. And
each and every day.
And depression, like we said earlier, has been around since the beginning. And you know what? That's why we believe that God tells us things like we have to take our thoughts captive in the Bible. We have to renew our minds because our minds can play tricks on us.
Exactly. And so let's talk about some things that we can do so that we can maybe be resilient and bounce back. Because we often talk about with mental fitness, mental health, mental wellness, we talk about being resilient. Resilience is the ability to bounce back from stressors, from discouragement, from depression. So, we often talk about the mental health continuum, which is a line, and every single person on the planet is on the line somewhere. We go up and down the line. At one end of the line is optimal wellness, and at the opposite end is complete dysfunction. But in the middle is somewhere where maybe you are if you are struggling with depression. So how do we bounce back to optimal mental wellness and have that resiliency? What are some things we can do?
Well, I think the first thing you already said, and that is recognize that your feelings aren't facts and act in spite of your feelings. Which, you know what, when you're depressed, that's challenging. And we are not trying to pretend that it's easy because we know that it's not. And so sometimes that means you have to call up a friend and say, hey, I need you to drag me outside for some fresh air today.
In fact, I just want to talk about that point just for a minute. We're coming from a life of where we have experienced this in our own family. And I'm going to say my husband was severely depressed. So I understand not being able to get himself out for a walk. I literally had to say, I had to drag him out for a walk. But every time I dragged him out, when he returned back to the house, he was up. He had bounced back a little bit. So we know that exercise works.
And so if you are in a position where you can't do it yourself, then you've got to ask for help. Whether that's asking for help from a medical professional, and if you're in that situation, you need to be doing that anyways, but that also means asking somebody that you love and trust to help you as well. Whether it's your spouse, whether it's a friend, whether it's your parent, whoever, it doesn't matter who, but you need to say, I need help. And like we know, exercise is so vitally important for our mental health. It's been shown in studies to be as effective, if not more effective, for depression than medication. It's the last thing we feel like doing, but it's the first thing that we need to be doing. Actually, the first thing we need to be doing is praying.
That's right.
And reading our Bible and surrendering the journey to God. That's the first step.
Then we need to exercise.
Yes.
Because I just heard this week that it's now been proven that when we exercise, we know that we get these hits of dopamine, which are the feel-good hormones. But when we exercise, our muscles actually produce a hormone that gets boosted through our body, and it does make us feel better. And it's our muscles that need to be working and contracting and, expanding. They need to be working, and it helps our mood. It's amazing.
And so you might be at every different level of ability out there. You might be in a position where you cannot go outside for a walk, but do what you can. You could Google it, look on YouTube. There's exercises that you can do in chairs with your arms that will get your heart rate pumping. You could dance in your living room. You can go outside for a walk. You can hit the gym if that's what you like. Move your body. The word exercise sometimes has bad connotations for people. Move your body.
Regardless of how you feel. Regardless if you want to or not. You just have to somehow get yourself motivated to do it anyway. I'm going to say, just do it.
Yeah. Don't even wait for the motivation because it ain't coming.
That's right. That's right.
And the other thing about this is that you have to start small, okay? If you are depressed right now, then you got to start small. That might mean that you tell yourself you're going to exercise for 5 minutes. That might mean 2 minutes to start.
It might mean putting on a happy song. And I mean a happy song where it makes you kind of smile and want to bounce or move or dance or whatever. But Usually songs are between 3 and 4 minutes or 3 to 5 minutes. Put on one song and move your body slowly. Dance around your house slowly with your arms waving around. You'll feel better even doing that.
Exactly. Put on a worship song and do that, okay? Move your body. Start small, but just do it. Don't wait for the motivation. Don't wait for your feelings to say, oh, I'm excited to do this, because that's just not where you're at, and that's okay.
That's right. And maybe before you do that, before you put on the happy song, maybe you're going to have to put on a sad song, because sometimes, I'm going to say, we have to release our feelings. If we feel like crying, maybe we need to cry, and it's okay to cry.
Yeah.
So do a song where you just tears are flowing, and then put on your happy song and dance. And you will be amazed. If you rate yourself before you do this exercise and then rate your feelings.
Like on a scale of 1 to 10?
Yeah, like 0 being really down and 10 being, or how do we normally say that?
Yeah, 0 is like you're really doing terrible, and 10 is like I'm doing awesome.
Yeah.
Life's great.
Yeah. So rate yourself before you do the sad song, then do the happy song, and after, rate yourself again, and you'll see that the level went up.
And the other big thing to note here is we're not talking about like pretend everything's all airy fairy fancy great. It's not, and we know that, and that's okay. It doesn't have to be. We don't always have to look at things from the brighter side of life, because sometimes that's just not where we're at.
That's right.
But you got to do it whether it's hard or not, okay? So this isn't about saying, oh, everything's great. No, that's not what this is about. This is about doing it even when it's hard.
It's about the real life journey that you're going through.
Yeah.
And so if this is resonating with you, we're just going to ask you right now to subscribe to our channel, give us a little bit of love, and we want to continue this topic. What else can we do when we're feeling down?
Well, I think especially when we're talking about depression and our weight loss journey, I think those two can go so hand in hand, because we've been so misconstrued with fad diet culture, where we have tied our whole identity to the number on the scale, to what we look like. And really what that does is it causes us to feel depressed when it's not going how we want it to go. And let's be honest, how often does our weight loss journey go how we want it to go? Almost never. We want it to be that fast, and it's not. And so whether
in fact, it's usually slower than we want it to be. Even when we think it's going to be slow, it's slower.
Yeah. So manage your expectations. Okay?
That's a big one.
Manage your expectations on your weight loss journey. And if you are depressed, then you have to give yourself even more grace. You have to give yourself even more time. You have to expect even less perfection from yourself, which you should never expect perfection on your weight loss journey anyways. But manage your expectations.
Because we know that tasks are going to take longer when you're feeling depressed. Everything takes longer when you're feeling discouraged.
And we know from having worked with lots and lots of women that, especially with depression, as women, we tend to eat our emotions, right? And so those depressive feelings often cause us to turn to the junk food, to whatever your nemesis food is, right? Whether it's chips or chocolate, I shouldn't call it a nemesis food, but you know what I'm talking about, right? The trigger food that you have, that you go to. And so there's lots of things that we can do to help ourselves there. One is the proximity of the food. Stop buying it. Stop having it in your house. If you know that every time you feel down about yourself and you get on the scale and you feel horrible about yourself and you're feeling depressed and it's not going well, if that bag of chips is in your cupboard, where do you think you're going to go?
And what happens then is you're on this perpetual hamster wheel where you're just in this vicious cycle of feeling guilt and shame, and it just adds to your depression. So we need to stop with having the food in our proximity. And one thing we need to rather do, if we're going to be going to the fridge, let's have the healthy veggies there ready to chomp on. If we need to chomp on a celery stick or a carrot stick. It's way, way healthier for you, and you won't be on that vicious hamster wheel.
Exactly, because there's so much research these days as well that speaks to the effect of nutrition on our mental health.
So let's go there now. There is so much that speaks to how nutrition actually aids in our mental wellness. We can augment our health through nutrition, and that means our mental fitness as well. Our mental wellness needs good nutrients, good nutrient dense foods that actually fuel our body. They fuel our brain.
Exactly. And so make sure that you're eating the good stuff, right? And get rid of the processed junk and get the good stuff in, because food is fuel for your body. And so the more that you put the good stuff in, the better you're going to feel about yourself, because you're making the decisions that line up with your goals, which also helps you feel better about yourself, right? Because when you say, I want to lose weight, and then you make decisions that don't line up with that goal, then that doesn't feel good. That causes us to feel bad about ourselves, which contributes to the feelings of depression as well. So there are so many things that we can actually do practically when we feel depressed that we just got to start doing them. We've got to start small. There are things like adding another glass of water to your day, maybe cutting out some of the caffeine in your diet, maybe adding a new fruit and vegetable to your day.
And I have one more thing, that this is more of a mindset thing, but I really wanted to talk about this, is to see your life through a different set of lenses. Because, I'm wearing glasses. You used to wear glasses. But when your glasses are smudged, you don't see very well. Everything's blurry. We have the wrong perspective. So sometimes we just need to do a switch, like a 180, looking this way, and now we look this way. Sometimes just seeing where we're at from a different perspective helps us to be able to see some new ways, some new, I don't know, like it'll change our mind. And it maybe instead of seeing, like, this is an old cliche, but maybe instead of seeing the cup half empty, you maybe can see it half full. See it half empty this way, turn and actually visualize it half full this way. Just see the pros and cons of doing different things. See which way you want to go. What direction do you want to take your life?
Another big thing is that we've got to learn how to incorporate things that bring us joy into our life, right?
Yeah.
When you feel down, when you feel depressed, you've got to intentionally think, how do I add joy?
That's
right?
a really big one. And the Bible talks about,
Count it all joy.
count it all joy. And a merry heart is good like medicine. Like, we have to start smiling and laughing, and we don't feel like it when we're depressed. We know that. Maybe it's too difficult, but maybe you can read a good story. Maybe you can read or watch a good movie that makes you smile. Maybe you can look at a joke and have a chuckle. Maybe you can look at some little kid who's doing something funny on Facebook and it just brings you joy. We need to do something.
Be intentional about adding joy to your day. And I want to say, find joy in something other than food, because that is keeping you stuck in your weight loss journey when you're feeling depressed, because we go to food to solve all of our emotional problems. We go to food as our source of joy. We go to food for our source of comfort, and we've got to look to God for those things. And then we have to find other ways to incorporate joy into our life that is not about food. Because when we're trying to lose weight, we have to uncross those wires in our head that are so crazy mixed up, that are telling us that food is everything, because food is not everything. Food is fuel for our bodies. And so when we're feeling depressed, we have to put joy in, whether that means you're going to have a bath, whether that means you're going to watch a good movie or read a good book or have coffee with a friend. What can you do that is going to add joy into your life today and tomorrow and the next day, and schedule it in so that you know it's coming?
It's just like you said, we have to be intentional. We have to be intentional about so many things, but we know that when we're eating our emotions, it just adds more depressive thoughts when we are trying to lose weight.
Exactly. So this has been, like we said at the beginning, kind of just a candid conversation about depression and weight loss. We know that, if you're here listening, and if you're still listening, that you're probably struggling with depression on your weight loss journey. And so if you are, we want to invite you to check out our 10-day WeighDown plan. It's really going to help you learn how to create a healthy relationship with food, how to learn how to lose weight without being on a diet, how to put the good stuff in so that you are giving your body good nutrition. And we want you to invite you to check it out. The link will be down in the description below.
We're also going to link another video which talks about how beneficial it is for your body, for if you're struggling with mental health challenges or struggles. Nutrition is vital. And so it's been linked, it's proven, it's scientific. So we want you to check that out as well.
Exactly. And more than anything, I think today our goal for this video is that you have hope, that you know and believe that it is possible for you to overcome your depression, that it is possible for you to overcome your weight loss struggles, that it is possible for you to lose weight without being on a diet. and that really in all things, God is working together for the good of those who love him.
Yes. And I told you that my husband had been severely depressed. I had hope through that journey. I knew that with God, it was possible for him to bounce back and be resilient. And I'm here to tell you that he has been. He has bounced back. He has been resilient. How did he do it? He followed all the steps that we just talked about. They're baby steps. It was slow. It took him longer than we expected. But could he do it? Absolutely. And with God in the journey, it is possible for you to do the same.
And I think I just want to add to that the very first step is that you have to decide that you want it to be different.
That's
and
right.
that sounds too easy because we know that depression and mental health challenges and mental illnesses have lots and lots of layers. But if you listen to lots of the experts around mental wellness, they will tell you that you have to first decide that you want to get better. So you have to decide that you want it to be different. You have to decide that you want it to be better. That doesn't mean that it's all magically better. That doesn't mean that your circumstances have changed. That means that you have decided that you want it to be different.
So will you make the change? We hope that you check out our link. We hope that this will be very beneficial to you as you put good nutrients into your body and learn that you can be resilient. And with God, it is possible.
And we always like to end by saying, until next time, treat your body like a temple, not a trash can.